Manning out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
And welcome into the show, everybody. I'm Mundungus Creevy, joined today by my co-host, a very special guest, Mr. Cameron Parker. And eventually we'll have Mario jumping in here. Whenever he gets in, he had fatherly duties. Not sure exactly what that means, but we'll ask him when he gets on. So make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment, turn on notifications so that you can get alerted anytime we go live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Also, tune into all of our other podcasts. Broncos Talk every Tuesday, 7654. The MHRT podcast, our flagship podcast, every Thursday at 7654. And the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast every Friday at 7654. Cameron, how's it going?
Doing good. Mario's probably a little bit delayed because he's probably flexing in the mirror and he probably forgot to. he probably forgot to hop on. So.
One day you will look like this.
Yeah, he's probably flexing his biceps in the mirror and saying, "See, biceps, it matters."
Oh man. So a quick little spin around the NFL at some scores. Buffalo's up over Carolina 17-8. The Jets are beating the Dolphins 17-10. Detroit is up 17-0 over the Cardinals. The Texans are up 20-10 over the Jaguars. The Cowboys are up 15-3 over the Giants, and the Titans are up 13-3 over the Steelers. Now we do have some sad news. The Colts beat the Patriots, and if we're looking at it from a playoff perspective, we wanted the Patriots to win, but from my heartstrings perspective, I never want the Patriots to win.
I mean, we talked about it, what was it, on the last episode, and we were just like, what were some teams that, we can't root for kind of deal, but that was like in division. The Patriots, it's weird, like how the table, it's how the turntables, from The Office, like it's weird how the tables would have turned, if you will, for me, like on the New England Patriots. Like I still hate Belichick and everything, but it's just like, but it's amazing to me, like the Patriots just like, I don't know, maybe it's just because Mac Jones is there now, but it's just like I still hate the Patriots, but it's just like I'm trying to determine like what level of hate I have for this New England Patriots organization, even though Tom Brady's not there anymore.
And joining us from his dad duties, which I'm going to assume by duties it was diaper time, even though he's got one and I've got 6, and I can make it on time. just throwing that out there.
Hey man, it's less about him and more about the wifey. Okay, happy wife, happy life. What she's been saying to me ever since we got together. So that's where it's at right now.
I was worried, Mario, you were just like flexing in the mirror and just got sidetracked.
That happens a lot. I'm usually late for work because I'm in the mirror flexing, kind of seeing. It makes sure the box pop in that particular work shirt that I'm for that day. So that's definitely a concern, and it's something that I work into my schedule for sure. About 5-10 minutes of mirror time, just a little this.
That's right.
Figure you're showing Jericho that like one of these days. This is what's going to happen.
Have you seen Mario's Insta stories with Jericho? I mean. It seems like he's already like instilling with Jericho some of the flexing and stuff like that,
Mario can't even hear anything.
It's okay. That was probably like the perfect time to roast
For
him.
shame. Yeah, we'll just keep roasting him while he's sitting there. Just point and laugh. Ha ha ha. He's just staring at us, so I'm just going to do that. And then we'll do... This is the same problem I had with him the last time I tried to talk to him. There, we'll do that. Okay. So I know that we've had the conversation in the last pregame show. But this last time. I don't know if you and I talked about it. I know that on Thursday we talked about re-signing Patrick and Sutton and whether it was worth it. And what I had said is I'm assuming that when they got re-signed, there was a stipulation in there that, hey, we are going to go get you a quarterback so that, we can make everybody's time worth it on those contracts.
I mean, that's I think that and everybody's stipulation. But I mean, it's just been one that I think the minute that they re-signed, it was just sort of that speculation. Aside from the obvious speculation that was, of who's going to be re-signed first, who's the wide receiver that's going to be signed first, that kind of deal. And then are they end up going to be signing both of them? I mean, so like that was like the biggest issue is like, okay, so Carlin Sutton signed or Tim Patrick signed first, so okay, so this is what we're going to get. I think that's been kind of like the now been thrown under that because of the stipulation, as you mentioned, like, because I think that for that sake, I think that's one of the reasons why, sure, the Broncos need to get the wide receivers involved. Like that is probably one of the more concerning things with this team. Obviously, you want to play to the if it ain't broke, don't fix it offense, right? Like you want to play to the running the football, that kind of deal. But I mean, you good, Mario?
We got you now.
I mean, I heard you guys at first, and then it's gone, and now it's back. I tried to record something with Mr. Creevy when I was in Dallas, and we kind of had a similar situation. I had to keep, it's cutting back in.
It's the same audio issues that we're having now, but whatever. I don't care.
No, well, hold on, because I will say, because Mario's here, this is also not the first time Mario and I have encountered some tech issues. We were supposed to be recording an episode.
You were having issues.
I'm sorry. But we had planned like this big like episode with Pat and Mario and I like for mainly, and of like, kid you not, like that day was when I had experienced like the computer issues, and so I literally started the call for Mario, and like 1 minute into the call, it just dipped.
And all I know is something was going on with his computer, and I'm not gonna speculate, but that thing was fried. Okay, that's all I know.
Yeah, so thankfully we've got it all patched up on all fronts, right, Mario?
I'm gonna blame any audio that we have at this point from Mario's headset. He's just gone now. I don't know where he went. I don't know. He's just sitting there. Whatever.
Man.
It's just him too, because like I can click this little button that says remove him. Yeah. It still says he's in the stream, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe he took himself out. But yeah, you were like halfway through the answer. I'm assuming that there was some sort of promise of getting a quarterback next year.
Yeah. The wide receivers. And that's basically all it entailed, is that like I think that like that's like the overarching thing was just I think that like, sure, like we talked about, the stuff is concerning that the Broncos aren't getting either of them or Jerry Jeudy involved with this offense. Like that's pretty concerning still with this whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it running attack, right? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like you want to run the football, but still you want to take your consistent and deep shots down the field and hit those opportunities, because once you do that, you will be able to, effectively run the ball even more. So it's one of the reasons why it's like the Tennessee offense is so important. But I do think that for the standpoint of, for them, Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, it's not a total loss, I don't think. Obviously, you want to get your touches in the game, but probably in the back of your mind that there's probably something else waiting in the wings for you. So you're not going to get probably too carried away with your own stat line, even if you're getting a known W. What I mean by that is, guys like a Russell Wilson or an Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or an 85-year-old Matt Ryan or I mean, just any of those guys. So,
well, no, I will say Matt Ryan is younger than Aaron Rodgers. He's 36. Aaron Rodgers is almost 39. Just throwing that out there.
yeah.
EJ says, Teddy, wow, is it? Maybe it's just mine that's running really slow because now I can't even see anything. I don't know. EJ says Teddy will need to play well today, and he needs to get the ball to our receivers and tight ends. We can't be one-dimensional with only the run. And that is true, but at the same time, I believe that Denver has now set up their offense to where everything revolves around the run. Like you run, and then you pass if you need to get out of something.
But I think that EJ, that's talking about what I had brought up. Like you can't be so one-dimensional that think about it from this perspective. Like we talked about it, or I mentioned it before, that the Tennessee Titans are like a blueprint for what the Broncos could potentially embody with this team, right? Well, along with that, you have a competent quarterback, that being Ryan Tannehill, a guy that had taken that extra leap once he left Adam Gase. But that's a complete sidebar. But I mean, like he ended up being a complete and competent quarterback by taking those necessary shots, and he has those weapons, right? Like he has AJ Brown, he has Julio Jones, he had Jonnu Smith with the Tennessee Titans, like that, and Jonnu is now with the Patriots. But it's one of those things that it's just like, I mean, you're looking at some consistent themes with just that the Broncos still, you can't be one dimensional. You have to be able to take those necessary shots because Cortland, Tim Patrick, they feed off that. Like they feed off of those deep shots. So I'm not entirely sure what they can potentially do. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely going to be a cause for concern for me for a little bit, no matter the wins and losses, no matter what, no matter what Ted Lasso will tell you, that it doesn't matter for teams,
Hey, you got me into that show. I ended up watching that show after you kept talking about Ted Lasso. And I will say I love that show.
Yep.
It is awesome.
One of my favorite clips is the bar scene of season 1. When he talks about the doubters and and he's playing darts with the it's one of my favorite scenes, probably of all time. It's one of my favorite scenes, I should say, of all time.
Okay, disclaimer, I've got a crying baby come in. So my own special guest, Lil Emma, is joining me for the podcast today. So one of the other things we talked about was a lot of people were, and I think it was this week and not last Sunday, but a lot of people were on Melvin Gordon about not re-signing him to next year. Trying to find another running back. I want to keep him. Like, I would love to have Melvin Gordon stay on the team and have a Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams tandem backfield next year too.
I mean, that should be one of the things that is on the table. And I think that is one that needs to be talked about enough. We talked about it a few times here on the show, but it's again, I think it still very much needs to be talked about, because think about it from the standpoint of this, like Melvin Gordon, I get it. Turnovers are like one of the biggest negatives you can ever account for. It's one of the biggest things that, you can be potentially attributing to job losses. Right. But I mean, at the same time, if you look past that, and I realize that's like a big caveat, but if you do look past that, he's been one of the more productive backs, I mean, in the NFL. I mean, he averages, I did an average, but I mean, he averages about 7.5 touchdowns a season. I mean, and frankly, he probably would be averaging 10 touchdowns a season if he had more significant playing time his rookie year with the who was the San Diego Chargers at the time. Because if you look at it, I mean, ever since he started, he's been basically averaging 8 to 9 to 10 touchdowns a season, which is rather remarkable. I mean, the Broncos haven't had a running back that averages that amount of touchdowns for quite some time. And so, I mean, he's definitely a back that has clearly proven that he's not just a touchdown scoring machine, but he's also can be a very viable 3-down back. And that's something that I think that could potentially bring up his worth, honestly. And also I think it also could bring back the value that he has to this organization, because I mean, we all love Javonte Williams. He is also a 3-down back, and frankly, I think it's something that the Broncos had at particularly one point in time when Royce Freeman was healthy and Philip Lindsay was healthy. Like, you had a very viable, dynamic duo between the two of them when they were healthy. And then Philip Lindsay, once he started taking off, kind of showed a little bit that he might be a potential 3-down back. And then, then some potential catching and catching ability sort of, just sort of became his biggest issue. But I mean, it again, it's just one of those things that I think that, what is his offer going to be? And if the Broncos, we talked about it with Patrick and Sutton, but it's like, if the Broncos do bring back, if they bring a Russell Wilson in, or an Aaron Rodgers, or a Matt Ryan, or any of those guys that need a competent running game, I would not be surprised if they decided to run it back with the exact same unit. Should we say, like, the incumbent unit, and you get a whole bunch of, let's run the rock and get it to our playmakers.
Right. And I mean, the one big knock against she wants to watch the game. The one big knock against Melvin Gordon, I mean, the only thing you can really come up with is he does fumble the ball, but honestly, it's not even that much. He just fumbles it at the most inopportune time during the game. Other than that, I mean, he's a great back that picks up the yardage you need. I mean, you can see him dicing through defenses every game. I mean, that's the one difference between Williams and Gordon is Williams is going to be that heavy back that's going to hit you, and he's going to drive through you and keep going. Whereas Gordon is going to be, you give him an inch, he's going to find a way to slip through it and then get into the backfield. So, I mean, it's a great 1-2 punch. I love it. I would also love to see what we have in Boone, because we haven't seen a whole lot from him yet. I mean, he's been injured. The one time he was in, I mean, he played well in that game, but again, he was limited on his carry. So I still wouldn't mind seeing what Boone's got.
Yeah, and maybe we can get a chance to get Mario's take. I think he's ready to come in, but I mean, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what he has, because Mike Boone, I think, does have some value, because it's a guy that he's seen basically this exact type of scenario play out with the Minnesota Vikings, with Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook. And so he's sort of waiting for that opportunity. I think another point that needs to be made with Mike Boone, he signed a 2-year deal. Yeah. And so it wasn't like he signed a 1-year deal and then he's going to end up being a free agent. He signed a 2-year deal. So the Broncos will still have him, barring, potentially, releasing him. It is a very small deal, but so they do have him for that 2-year deal. So, I mean, the Broncos could very well, look at a much cheaper option, Boone, and potentially unleash him, if you will, in that final year, and then re-sign him, or allow Boone to seek a much higher contract, with a team that could potentially use his services. But he is a very viable back, in my opinion. I mean, if you go back and you look, and look at it, he looks the part. I mean, he's got speed, he's got some very underrated power. He just looks the part.
Yeah, and we had talked, when we were talking about re-signing running backs or bringing in a running back, we also talked about, the quarterback to pair him with. And I know that we had talked Rodgers and Wilson, and everybody's talking Rodgers and Wilson. But then you could also add in there Kirk Cousins, but I don't think he goes anywhere unless Zimmer's gone. If Zimmer's gone or the coaching staff's gone, then I could see him making a move away from Cousins. And then there's Matt Ryan. But at the same time, she doesn't like Matt Ryan. At the same time, Matt Ryan has a massive cap hit. So he definitely would have to rework a contract if he's planning on going anywhere.
That's also planning to see if the Falcons, want to move on from him, or be able to, bring, move on from him. I guess that's really the ultimate question. By the way, Mike, it seems like Mario is ready to come back in.
Dude, everything's frozen. I can't see anything on here. I can't pop up comments. I can't mute myself. I can't do anything. I'm trying to figure this all out through YouTube right now. So I don't know what's going on.
Oh, the good old tech issues.
right?
But
Baby's not helping any.
yeah,
There,
no,
right there.
but it's going to be interesting to see what they do, and with that running back room. I mean, a few games in case in point that you want to certainly bring up with should we say is that go back and watch his I want to say it's the Chicago Bears game of 2019. And go back and watch the Chargers game of 2019 as well. He showed a lot of promise. That was back when the Vikings had dealt with a numerous, should I say, oh, back when they were dealing with some injuries. And the Broncos, as we all know, have had their fair share of injuries. But he showed that he could be able to do something. So be able to, be a competent force in the backfield, I think, would do him wonders. And we all know that, unfortunately, the running back room is one that you can have all the talent in the world, but, it can be so hard for you to see the field sometimes due to the guy that's ahead of you. And, but at the same time, it's like it can be an ever so flexible situation with that running back room.
Well, I think the thing it comes down to after that is that, let's say that Rodgers, Wilson, Cousins, Ryan, none of them are available. None of them want to move. They all kind of stay where they're at, right? We draft a quarterback. Do we stick with Teddy or do we go with a different quarterback? Say trade for a Minshew or sign a Marcus Mariota or an Andy Dalton. Like, do we take that road or do we stick with Teddy, or do you think Teddy's gone no matter what?
Yeah, and we talked about this before, but it's just one of those things that just like you very much still have to have a thought in your brain that Teddy, will be coming back. And I think that that is going to be a very interesting question to follow. Obviously, there's the conflicting reports out there now that Teddy doesn't or does want the $25 million. If he does want the $25 million, bye. I mean, we all know that even for his career, he's outplayed what his career expectations have been. So I mean, it's one of those cases where, I mean, again, you're looking at it from what is it exactly that he thinks would be 25 million worthy. Right now, I believe he's sitting at 16 or 17 touchdowns. So it's just one of those cases where it's just like, is that for his sake 25 million in an extension worthy? I really don't think so. And so, hopefully we can look at it. Finally, we got the.
I'm here. I'm just sitting backstage waiting for my time to shine.
I mean, I was gonna say Mike just had been seeing like a whole bunch of like a frozen screen, basically, and so I guess for some reason he couldn't just bring you in. I don't know. And now
We'll say this: the video is definitely not matching up to the audio. I don't know if that matters, but like Cam's mouth currently moving as talking, so it's fine. I mean, I don't look at you guys. I pretty much look at myself on these things anyway. I have no idea what you guys look like, so it's all good.
It was nutty. Like I was trying to bring you out and then bring you in and then pull up chats and
I know his channel was like, is he not reading my messages? I'm ready. Let's go,
dude. I couldn't see anything. Bring back Mario and Mike. I couldn't, dude. And then it flashed and like everything popped up in my face.
All right, look, I'm just get him real quick in case we have more neck issues. I know we're talking about this Bengals game. I think one of the cool things about this is the first meaningful game in December that they've played. I mean, obviously, aside from last week, this is the first like truly meaningful and arguably the most important game that the majority of guys on this roster have played in their career. From a guy like Kareem Jackson, Kenny Young, Brent Manis, like might be the only player in the entire team who have played meaningful games this late in the season. Everybody else, they haven't gotten to that point. Maybe Melvin Gordon, he was in L.A., but I don't know if they were even that good. I mean, I don't really pay attention to the Chargers, so I couldn't tell you. This is one of those moments where you're really going to see what the team is made out of. And I get it as fans. We're in a weird situation where I think we can all be in agreement this is the ideal coaching staff. Shermer, regardless of what happens, they make the playoffs. Even if they go in like have a deep playoff stretch run, I don't see them retaining Pat Shermer. He's just been so bad, and honestly, he was never that good before he got here. And I know people want to talk about Ted. Obviously, Teddy needs to be better. He's been playing horribly, really, and it's covered up by the fact the running game has been good. But how much tribute to Pat Shermer, and how much do you attribute Teddy Bridgewater? The way I see Teddy, man, he's a really good backup quarterback. He is the perfect backup quarterback to have because he can come in, not going to turn the ball over, not going to set the world on fire. But he's not your QB1, really, and he's not supposed to. So and you were talking in Mundungus about whether, like, if Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson aren't available, which, honest, as a Broncos fan, I'm devastated by that. I'm putting all chips into that table. I'm going to China, and I'm going to buy an Aaron Rodgers jersey and a Russell Wilson jersey, and it's going to speak it into existence like one or the other. And if that doesn't happen, I know you guys were talking about Matt Ryan, super pass on that. That dude's best years behind him. Way too much money. You all know how I feel about Gardner Minshew. I thought that Minshew should be the quarterback here. And nothing anybody says will convince me that they wouldn't have at least one or two more wins if Minshew was the quarterback right now. So maybe like your ultimate fallback plan. Do not want Teddy here next year. I think he's a problem. $25 million is way much for a backup quarterback.
So then Mario.
Yeah.
So then Mario. So obviously we talked about it with the $25 million, right, with Teddy. So I guess, with Minshew, is Minshew worth that $25 million? Because I think that
value,
right?
I think Minshew is worth more than Teddy Bridgewater simply because I think he offers more. I think playmaker, he's getting ball out quick. He needs to have good presence. And this is odd to me, and this is something that I keep falling back on. Those first 3 games, I know they weren't playing like great teams. Teddy looked really good. He was taking shots downfield. He wasn't making bad, ill-advised throws like we have been seeing. Yeah. And even he's not turning the ball over. He easily could have thrown 4 or 5 interceptions in Chiefs game. The Lions, it's not a measuring stick because they ran down their throats, and that game, was kind of, but not real in the first half. The second half, it got out of control. I would much rather have Gardner Minshew. So if you're telling me that it's a $25 million and my 2 choices are Teddy and Gardner, I don't think that I give it a second thought. I don't think that's an actual conversation that would even need to have. I think it's far and away Gardner Minshew. But then here's the issue. This is exactly why you need to get rid of a Patmer. They brought in really with the intention of being the starting quarterback. And they built up this quarter competition. And here's the thing, man. If you're going off of how these guys played in the preseason, I get it. We don't see everything. We don't know what happened behind the scenes. But if you're judging them based on how they played, Teddy did not win that competition. So in my mind, this was it was kind of a stack deck. And I'm not going to sit here and be the guy that, the on the Drew Lock love train. That's not going to be me. I'm not sad if Drew Lock was the starting quarterback. We wouldn't be having these issues because at the end of the day, the common denominator is Pat Shermer. We cannot keep Pat Shermer. And if you've watched any amount of Broncos football this season, you know that he is the problem. I mean, what was the issue last year? Obviously, Drew Lock, it was the interceptions and the turnovers. We all know that. But one thing that we hated, running on second and long, short of the stick, third and long punt. And we are doing the same. We're seeing this thing out of that we are through. So again, what's the denominator? It's Shermer. So one of my worst fears, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but is for Drew to go somewhere else. You find an offensive coordinator for him that kind of caters to his strengths, and he ends up being like not even a top 10 guy, but a top 15 guy. Because I can totally see that happen.
Ryan Tannehill.
Exactly, to that extent, right? So if they get a deep play run, kind of circling what I was saying. I don't think that get rid of Fangio, even though I think Fangio's a problem. He's a fantastic defensive coordinator. He is one of the best when it comes to calling defenses. He is not a good head coach. So how much do you put up with in terms of what you expect from him as a head coach if he's falling short as a head coach? how good does defense need to be to compensate for that? Because they've played the Chiefs defensively about as anybody, and yet they can't win. Part of it is Shermer, but part of it is the head coach. I think McMahon absolutely has to get fired. And then, maybe you kind of see what I had pitched, and this might sound insane, but you go to Vic Fangio, you say, look, you're clearly not a head coach. I don't think that you're that tone deaf, think that you have what it takes to be a head coach. Love you as a defensive coordinator. We want to demote you. You'll be the defensive coordinator. We'll pay you, make you the highest paid coordinator in the league. Because if he's not going to get another coaching job at his age and the track record, like as bad as this team has been since he took over, and kind of like how he's managed this team. I would be absolutely shocked if not another head coaching job. So what does that leave for him? Defensive coordinator. And the teams that are going to be looking for coordinators and coaches, they're not necessarily as good as Broncos are right now. Certainly don't have the personnel player-wise that this team has. Say, keep coaching Pat and Simmons and Baron Browning and Caden Stearns and all of these young studs, or you could try your luck somewhere else. So I think if you pay him, and maybe it's crazy, but that's how I would approach it. I want Fangio on the staff, but I only want him to be in charge of the defense because he's a terrible head coach. And I until then, you're not going to see a seismic shift. And honestly, this team's so good, really, aside from the quarterback position. But man, I jumped on with you guys before the season started, and the quarterback doesn't need to be great. The quarterback needs to be average. Teddy statistically has been average. So what is the problem? It's the play calling, it's the situational awareness, it's the awful clock management, it's the fact he's not in touch with his players, and this is just what you see. So we hope for a playoff run, and I think everybody is just desperate for there to be football at the end of the season. This team is able to win their last four. I think they very well might find themselves in the playoffs. But it's something that they have to address. They have to have the wherewithal to say, we made the playoffs, but we should have been an even better team given the guys that we have around. I think everything George Payton has done has been good, right? Yeah. I think what's the worst thing he's done? Like maybe signed our Stephen and he's been fine. Like that's like the quote unquote worst decision that Payton has made. So you know that he's going to want to bring in his own guys. To me, it seemed like he put together this team, and he handed this to the head coach. He's like, I had a fantastic draft. We did really well in free agents. I re-signed of your big studs. Go win football games. And they are, but not to the extent that they should be. So changes need to be made, and I just have faith in Payton. Until he gives a reason to dislike something, just have faith in him, please.
Yeah, and that would be for like consecutive seasons too. Like, because again, people need to remember it was a 6-year GM deal. Like, so I mean, this is also and that even goes to what Mario was saying, like, right? Like, this is also like what makes it so impressive. Like, we're seeing all these results in the first year. And I think that what makes the Vic Fangio dilemma, Mario, so fascinating is that like is that when you get a head coach, right? And I don't mean it like just from the Vic Fangio point of view, but like whenever you get a head coach, right? Like they go into job interviews, and they probably have kind of like you hand someone your resume, like you have like a list in mind of like the staff that you have in mind. I think that's what's going to make it a little bit tricky, a little bit with Vic, is that like if you have someone coming in that is a head coaching candidate, are the Broncos going to like narrow down their search? To be like, okay, these are the guys that, are going to be working with Vic as a defensive coordinator, that kind of deal. And the other thing that makes the Vic Fangio thing, dilemma so fascinating is I think that a lot of people also forget too that Vic was a little bit selective, as was Mike Munchak. Both Mike Munchak and Vic were a little bit selective in where they wanted to go interview for coaching jobs. So that could mean a whole lot of different things here. Like, that could mean they know that, if something doesn't work out, they have the defensive coordinator job waiting in the wings, or in Mike Munchak's case, he interviewed for the head coaching job and knew that he had an offensive line, position in waiting with the Broncos. So I think it's so fascinating. And I think that it's one that, for the Broncos, it's going to be such a fascinating, thing to watch for me, because I think that if you're Vic, my biggest fear, is for him to go to let's just say the Kansas City Chiefs cut ties with, Steve Spagnuolo.
Cameron.
And he go, I know.
Cameron.
It's just that
Are we not operating in reality? Like, I thought my thing was far-fetched, dude, but come on. Try again.
But fair. But he goes to some contender, right? Like he goes to some contender that, they ended up canning their defensive coordinator.
But here's the problem though with that. What contender is going to be firing their defensive coordinator? I mean, unless we see a contender who doesn't have a good defense, and I know it's kind of like a helter-skelter year, but this was my whole point of saying, like, these job opportunities that Vic is going to get as a DC, I mean, historically, they're not going to be for good teams. They're going to be teams that miss the playoffs, that are bottom 10, bottom 15 in the league. They're cleaning house and bringing in blood. So that my line of thinking, it's like, would you rather go to one of these crestfallen teams that are in a rebuilding stage that don't remotely have the talent that the Broncos do, or are you going to stay in Denver? Your pride takes a hit, but you're the highest paid defensive coordinator, let's say top 3 high paid defensive coordinator, and you're familiar with all guys. You're familiar with their strengths, with their weaknesses. And again, defense isn't the problem. I know it's been a handful of games got out of hand, and I think it's because the running quarter still perplexes Vic. I think that's why Lamar Jackson looked so good against us, and why Jalen Hurts looked like an MVP candidate against us. And that seems to be kind of like his one glaring weakness, right? But for the most part, I would think that he want to stay here. Now, I gotta say, I want everybody to look at Creevy. Exactly what happens when I watch a Dermer offense. Just not out, dude. Like, I tell my wife, like, wake me up when the defense is on the field, because this is just absurd.
I was going to say,
I'm just glad I got her out. Like, I'm an oven, so they give her to me, and she's just out.
No, close your eyes. Close your eyes. No, I think best case scenario would be Dan Quinn, the players that I've talked to. He has the reputation. He was a guy that should have been fired in Atlanta in the first. That was just kind of a weird situation. Dan, I think, is the deal head coach. If you can get Fangio to stay on for DC like that, I think to me that would be ideal. Again, I don't know how realistic it is. And then offensive coordinator, I don't have any names off the top of my head. Yeah. But you gotta go get young dude that thinks outside the box and knows how to use these weapons. I mean, this is something that we talk about. Creevy, this is what I told you in the preseason, where I did not think mattered between Drew, because the receivers are so good. Now, granted, Hamler's been hurt. We understand that. But still, man, like, who amongst these guys is wide receiver 1? The fact that you don't know, and that you could make a case really for anybody to be the number 1 wide receiver, just shows how much talent they have. They have one of the best running backs in the entire league. They have a very good offensive line, when it comes down to. And then they have 2 excellent pass catching ends. There is absolutely no reason for this offense not to be better. And again, the common denominator is Pat Sherman. And I feel bad for Teddy. I do. He needs to play better. He needs to make better throws. But you can tell just how Sherman runs his offense the last 2 years. He keeps these guys in a box. He sees what they do well, but then he doesn't do things. The one thing that Drew did almost better than anybody here, and again, he did a lot bad. I got okay. Don't come to me saying that I'm a block apologist. But what Block was really good at was play action, up tempo, and they ran play action. There were 2 teams that ran play action fewer times than the Broncos did. So you have this young guy that you think has a high ceiling. Wouldn't you want to cater to his needs just a little bit? What if Baltimore did cater to Lamar Jackson's needs? What if Arizona did cater to Kyler Murray's needs? Nowadays, you need to structure your offense around her back. There are very few backs in this nowadays that trend the system. Aaron Rodgers is one of them. So if we can get Aaron Rodgers, then shoot, that would be the only scenario where I would be remotely okay with Shermer staying, because Shermer's not doing anything anyway, right? Like, it's going to be the Aaron Rodgers show. It was just
Rodgers
like
would
Peyton
be the
Manning
guy that'd
was
be
here.
like, no, I'm not.
No, dude, I'm not doing that. It would be the same thing as Peyton Manning. Adam Gase was here. Peyton Manning got the 2 head coach jobs.
Yeah.
That's how good Peyton Manning wasn't that Adam Gase. Everybody was like, dude, you worked with Peyton for like 5 years. How are you so bad? And like, if that's a situation with Shermer where you're like, all right, Pat, you're technically the OC, but we're pretty much just gonna do whatever Aaron wants to. You'll be in the programs, be listed on our website as the offensive coordinator. You're literally gonna show up to the facility. You're gonna sit and you're gonna mind your own business. We don't need you all.
Yeah.
This is an honorary title.
And this is what I had said last week, and everybody got mad at me because it's like, if we get Russell Wilson and hire Dan Quinn as coach, I want Darrell Bevell as offensive coordinator. Sorry, I do.
Yeah.
Like, he drafted Wilson, got Wilson to where he's at. Why would you not want Darrell Bevell?
Well, yeah, I'm completely on board. I mean, it feels like we're at the point where literally anyone other than Shermer is going to be perfectly fine. Like, dude, bring Tim James, and I would love to see James with you. I know that he would be better than Shermer. Like, my goodness. Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, let's talk about this Bengals game, because I know this is on everybody's mind and like kind of what they need to do. The only problem that I had last week's game, because it was a blowout, that should have been a game. And I usually don't like that term, especially here. You never going to happen in the like the last that I looked recently, but the ones were beating the Cardinals. Arguably the worst team is beating arguably the best team. So maybe there's not a get right game, but you saw how that game was going, especially in the second half. Like, open it up a little bit, man. Try and throw the ball down, because then what teams going to do when they're watching, they're like, okay, the Broncos are actually trying to push the ball downfield. Whether they would be successful or not is erroneous. You need to put it on film, because right now as it stands, no expects the Broncos goes game, because they know that Teddy's not going to throw, and they know that Shermer's not going to call it. So when you had a situation like last week where you can actually push the ball down the field against a really bad defense, like they were bad already, like personnel-wise, and then they lost a ton of guys, like with COVID and injuries. Anzalone was out of like the first series. I think they were down to like their 4th, 5th string cornerback. No excuse to throw the ball around the. That should have been a good game, and I know we stomped them, and I'm not going to ever about a win. I'm not complaining. I wish that they had catered more, like looked forward more to what they need to do. Because now Cincinnati's coming in, it's like, if they keep everything in front of them, which is what every defense has done, that passing game doesn't scare anybody. You go to Vegas the following week, like the Raiders already experienced it. Like, we took no shot, completed no shots. So at least you put something out on, like, they've got to take, if it gets picked, it's like a long, right? But you have to convince these teams in the stretch run that you're actually, like, at least willing to try to throw the ball downfield. It's awesome they have a great running game. Yeah. It's awesome that Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams have been as good as they are. And they're going to be the linchpin currently if the Broncos are going to make a run to the playoffs. But you have to be able to throw the ball at point. If you go down to a team Chargers or like the Chiefs or a team like the Bengals today, you're going to get back into the game running the ball. You have got to stretch the field, and sometimes you have to score quick. That is not what this Broncos team does. They move the ball well. They need to get better in the red zone. And again, circling back to what you guys were talking about, I would love Melvin Gordon back. I understand why a team that has so many issues in the red zone wants to get a guy that scores so many touchdowns in the red. Now I get it. He might want to go some RB1 because your Javonte Will is going to be the lead back. Melvin Gordon, if he stays, is going to have to take a back seat. That's just kind of the reality that we're at right now. So if he takes a little bit of a pay cut, depends on how much he likes Denver and if he likes the direction that they are going. then you would like a backup, and I get it. Like you don't want to pay running backs in this league. Look what's happening. Saquon, man, look at McCaffrey, even like Zeke of up and down. I don't want to spend a lot of money on running back. So if he won't take a team for a deal, I know you guys have Boone. I'm a huge fan of Boone. I think he gives you a dynamic that they haven't seen. Again, I don't understand why he hasn't gotten more touches. Like when he's been healthy, I guess that's just the Shermer effect. He didn't know how to use Phillip Lindsay. He clearly doesn't know how to use Mike Boone. But Gordon doesn't come back next year. Bottom line is they can get a running back in the fourth, fifth, sixth round this year. There's a lot of not great, but very, very solid backs. Like guys are going to be bell cows, but you need one. You need a guy complimentary to Devontae Williams. So I could see them retaining Gordon if Gordon takes a team-friendly deal. But I don't think you want to overpay this guy. Then as fans, that's the guy that you want. Again, fumbling and an issue, I understand. It's always inopportune times, but positives outweigh the negatives. I think in this field, in my opinion, they do.
Right. Yeah, he loves and one thing too is that Melvin Gordon loves that locker room. And I mean, case in point was just the stuff that we had seen in the social media stuff with Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler. Like he loves it here. One of the things that with what Mario was talking about with the Cincinnati Bengals game for this week and then with the Detroit Lions was honestly case in point why I really hated the second quarter of that Lions game a lot, because for this Broncos team, in order for them to really be a true focal point of a playoff team, you can't take your foot off the gas pedal. And they took their foot off the gas pedal and decided to get a little bit too cute and a little bit, too irresponsible with the way that they decided to operate. And when they decided to throw the ball, when they decided to or wanted to run the ball, it's just like everything just ended up getting, too, discombobulated. And for the Broncos' sake, and it's something we talked about, on the earlier part of the show, Mario was just like, in order for this Broncos team, to be competent, you have to play the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it offense, with running the football, but you have to be able to take those consistent shots down the field to show that you are a competent offense. And it's just like, so it's one of those cases where like you have these weapons, it's one of the reasons why I really kind of like, if the Broncos want to go this route, like to be like a Tennessee Titans type offense, so a competent quarterback, right? Like, when you have these types of weapons, like obviously we don't have AJ Brown or Julio Jones, but you have probably much better wide receiving core like that. And I mean, like you have these weapons that to potentially get it done and also stretch the field along with toting the rock. You could run, a clock for 10 minutes. And if you can't convert in the red zone, it's just like that's why I think that like that drive against Kansas City was like a microcosm. We talked about on the MHRT show before, but it's like, I thought that was like a microcosm of the problems the Broncos had. And it was a microcosm of what the future could potentially hold for the Broncos offense, like of what they do successfully now. And then what they've always done, not so successful in years prior.
Yeah, and one of the things that annoys me so much about this year and this year's Denver Broncos team is when you look at the Detroit Lions, like right now they're up 24-6 on the Cardinals. And we know that the Cardinals have a pretty potent offense, at least most of the season they have. But the fact that the Lions defense is able to hold the Cardinals offense to 6 points, and we were able to run up more than 30 on their defense, is just so aggravating. Like, why can't we do that all the time? That's how good our team can be.
Right.
And it's annoying that we're not living up to that. And I know it's a mix of, at least I believe, Shermer and Teddy. But then you throw in like Cushenberry struggles at times, which doesn't help with the guards. We have injuries at tackle all the time. So it's just like it's so aggravating that we're right there, but we just can't get it.
Yeah.
Just need a Wilson or a Ross, and they'll be set.
Oh, so that was the picture of Mario with the guy with the color rush jersey and the Aaron Rodgers, the what was it, the customized Aaron Rodgers, jersey. You didn't see that, Mario? That was on Twitter this offseason.
Oh, someone had made a Rodgers jersey. You know what's funny about that? I actually legit buy a Broncos Rodgers jersey, and I won Fanatics. and customize and everything, and they would not allow me. Like the thing on the website blocked me from rating Rodgers 12, and so I think I had put on Twitter and I was like, "Yo, custom make, like I'm trying to make a not custom make. Yo, Fanatics, I deal so much with custom. It's always in my brain. Fanatics, I'm trying to make a custom jersey here, and they're like, "Oh, you're not allowed to make a jersey of a player that's not on a certain team," and I'm like, oh, here I am, and I'm just like, here, Fanatics, take my money. Probably going to be a waste, but here, you have it. They clearly don't need it, and they're like, no, friend, we don't want your money. You keep. We have stupid rules. But yeah, probably we would. They got one like from DH8 or one of those websites. But like I said, I'm gonna get one of each. And my luck, like watch I get a Russell Wilson number 3 and Rodgers 12, and Russell Wilson comes here, but then Rock is technically a roster, and so Russell's just like, I'm gonna go my college number, and it's teen, and so like they're both a waste.
That'd be funny. By the way, you mentioned custom ink. Dave Glassman mentioned about any news on your memorial shirt, Mario, which is knock out of the park, by the way, bro.
Those hoodies, I got mine.
Hey, yeah, Dave, I just saw that. So if you go on Twitter at Mario in the pin tweet, it'll have a link to the DT hoodie. I mean, it's just I do his, and that's just my thing. I hope maybe at point we'll do shirt well. I found a way around it, so you go ahead and order. So for anybody listening, the way that it works, it is a little bit complicated, and it does take a long time, and it'll probably take a while because so many have ordered. I think we're almost at 250 sweatshirts that have ordered. But the actual order form will close on December 26th. I was gonna close on DT's birthday, which of course Christmas. I was like, nah, we'll give people, because people are busy on Christmas, and give everybody kind of like one extra day to make sure that everybody's an opportunity to buy this hoodie. Of course, if you don't already know, I'm donating 100% of those seats to the Boys and Girls Club of I believe it's Metro Denver. That was the charity that Justin and everybody had donated to. I know Justin did that deal where it was $8 for every tackle, and if I remember correctly, they ended up rounding it up $52.80, which is really cool. So it's that same charity that going to. Maybe down the line we'll do shirts and week fundraisers or more for maybe something else like seizure awareness or anything that I know too much about it. Obviously, seems like that was what had happened with the. So maybe in the future we can do T-shirts and do something like. But yeah, if you're interested in buying that hoodie, in case you don't know, the actual designs like the 88 and the number, then you could see the D and the T. There has been a picture circulating. It was hard for me to. Ryan Green, Channel 4 actually was the first one that posted it. Last time that I saw Darius in my office was after his car accident. He was wearing that hoodie, and I remember asking him, I was like, man, that's so cool. When can I get one of those? And he's like, oh, hopefully soon. And then I just think that Under Armour ever actually made them. So that where the design came from, and then obviously added on the wings and the halo. So yeah, looking to contribute and get that Memorial DDT. Obviously, proceeds again going to charity to the Boys and Girls Club. Greatly appreciated, and that's the only way that they're the best way that I know how to remember him and on him, where we're making sizable donation in his name, and everybody will be able to kind of like win on their chest and sing close to your heart. And I appreciate that question, man, and thank you for asking that. So yeah, go to my Twitter, Mario, the link is in the pin tweet.
Yeah, it was a fantastic hoodie, and it was one that, and I tell you so often, Mario, about your fantastic hoodies before, but I mean, that's
the best one. Absolutely.
That is the best one by far. And I know that in the past, I don't know if he had put it on there on his website. He did do a website. It's one of the reasons why I have the Demaryius Thomas bracelets, the 88 bracelets. He had a website, and I don't know if that's where he had the 88, Mario, like in the past, like where he had those T-shirts. So I don't know if it was there But it was so cool to see you recreate that from something that was Ryan Green. My favorite touch, though, and I told you with the quote tweet, but it was just like the angel wings, because it's such a fantastic, just a true remembrance that he's with us. He's always with us. And it's something that he will be always remembered of wearing the orange and blue, and he will always be remembered in the NFL for who he was and stuff. I thought it was just a great remembrance in touch with the angel wings for sure.
Well, and shout out to D Line over there at DNVR. He the shirt DNVR and just an incredible job. He's such a talented artist. He was the one that helped me. Well, not helped me. He did it all. And I pitched it to him. But he was the one that made the 88 with DT in it. And then just through the custom design, I was able to add the wings and the halo. So that's where, that was taken for sure. And obviously, wish it was under better circumstance, and wish we could have had that hoodie for different reasons. Just the 88. But, and I saw someone had mentioned that used to go to the Denver Boys and Girls Club or the Boys Club of Montebello growing up, which that's really really cool. You would share that. I think what I'm gonna do because I think it was Metro Denver specifically, but maybe. See what the total ends being for the amount of money raised. Maybe I can look into see all of the different boy girls clubs that maybe Demary was involved with while he was here, and just spread it out evenly to all of those charities. And I mean that's what he did best, right? Everybody's videos, everybody's seen pictures. He was fantastic with kids. He had a great relationship with my two nieces. My youngest niece, when she was in elementary school, used to tell her friends that Demary Thomas was her friend and was her big brother, and no one believed her. And I remember she reached out to DT and she said, "I tell everybody you're my friend, and nobody believes me. They think I'm lying or I'm joking." And so DT, bless his heart, showed up to her school one day, surprised her at lunch, ate lunch with her and all of her friends, and all of her friends oh gosh, you are friends with Demarius Thomas, and that's just who he was. He was the coolest guy. So I know we got a little bit sidetracked, but I wanted to share that he was fantastic. And if anyone who doesn't know, he lived with us for about a week and a half when he was a rookie. He was holding out. He really was part of our family by all the time. We used to call each other a blindside brother. So obviously, one familiar with the blind side, we would family picture and hear the white suburban family and big ass T in the back.
Oh man, Mark, it's so funny you mentioned that, and I know you mentioned it before and stuff, but I want to quickly have you tell the story. That you told me before about the CU Boulder story. I want you to I want you to quickly tell that story before we go to the Bengals game.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, just a quick back. The reason that he lived with us in our original office, my dad was working on him. He had come into the office and he happened to be there same time as Rob Smith, and and I'm talking him up. He seemed I think he heard the noise. Some fans were disappointed that they didn't get Dez Bryant, because Dez Bryant was the sold name. If you guys think back to that draft, everyone knew who Dez Bryant was. Not a lot of people knew who Demarius. There was said maybe he's the next Calvin Johnson, but he ran two routes at Georgia, right? It was screening and go. And so I was telling him up, you know what, man? There's going to be people saying that they wish they had Dez, but I was like, you're way better. I watched your film. I didn't. That was a lie. I was like, I watched your film. You're way better than Dez, and like that. We just kind of bonded over me, kind of sucking up to him a little bit. He was telling us basically the old CBA when you hold out, the team would stop your hotel. So you were drafted by the team. They would pay for you to be in a hotel until it was time in your contract. Now, obviously, Marius was a whole rookie year. They were waiting for Team Dez Bryant to sign. So once he got to that point where he was officially a holdout, he had no money, he had no go. He happened in the office, all of his luggage just in his car, and he's trying to figure out what he can do. And so first my dad was like, "Oh, just stay with us. We have a room in the basement. You can come and you please be fine." And Rod Smith happened to be in there, like, "Yo, man, take that. That's a good deal. You won't be just to do that." So he did. He followed me back to the house, put his stuff up. My mom didn't know. And I think he had left to go to the gym, and my mom came home later. I was like, hey, did you get to meet Demarius? And she, who? I was like, Demarius, is he your first round pick? And she's like, no, should I have? And I'm like, yeah, he's staying with us. Like, he's going to be staying. She's like, well, okay. I don't have time for this. Your dad didn't tell me anything. Nobody is intimate. No one's staying with us. It's like, oh, Mom, Dad invited him. Like, he doesn't know where to go. Yeah. His stuff is in the basement. And she's like, I believe it's like, go look. She goes downstairs in the room. There's DT's little case. He's got his little dog in the bathroom. And she's like, oh, there's a stranger in our house. So that was kind of how that all went. Like, my dad didn't even bother telling my mom that some stranger would be staying with us. And we were out to dinner one of my butt up in Boulder, gonna throw a house party for his birthday. I was, still at Boulder at this point. And I told DT, hey, man, do you wanna go up to Boulder? Like, he was kind of bumming, and his contract wasn't done yet. They were close, but they weren't quite there yet. I was like, I want to come get your mind off things. He's like, man, that's not really my scene. Like, I don't drink. I was like, well, maybe change your mind. And if I remember correctly, he was friends with J.J. Arrington as a running back. J.J. Arrington got traded for Joe Mixon, and he was friends with J.J. He was upset that J.J. was traded. I'm pretty sure those were the two names, if I remember correctly. And DT was upset. He's like, you know what, man, like, I'm up with you. I was like, all right, do you want me to drive? Like, just so you could have a couple drinks. And he's like, oh, I don't really drink. Like, I'll be the DDD. Like, okay. So me and some of my friends piled into his, I think he had a Yukon back then. And it was like what the dealership letting him drive. I piled in and drove up to Boulder. Anyone familiar with Boulder? Not the most diverse place. A 6'3", 225-pound black Jackson. I swear to records, okay? And it was funny because apparently, like, the house was absolutely packed. There had to be like 50 or 60 people. And my friend to me, and he's like, so as you can tell, word spread that Demarius Thomas was coming to the party. And I was like, yeah, I see that. He's like, yeah, we're supposed to have like 12 people. And then people start showing me, this is the guy whose day it is, and he's like, I don't know half the people here. This is my party. Everybody thinks it's a Demarius Thomas party. So we had a beer pong table set up in the little garage, and he walks in there, and the guy sees him, and he's like, oh my God, Dexter Fowler! Which is still one of my good friends, and all of our good friends joke about it.
Right.
DT was just like, oh, what? Because he's wearing a Rockies key. He's like, man, Demarius Thomas, man. He's like, I know, just kidding. So DT and I are playing beer pong, and I was drinking his cup. Other people were drinking his cup. And like he's playing, his arms are crazy long. So his elbow over the table every single time. And he started up on the people on the other side of the table were tell. And they wanted to say something, but it's like, you're not going to call Demarius Thomas for blows when you're playing beer pong. So he would nudge me, be like, hey, watch this. And he would reach way over and almost just drop the ball right into the cup. And people on the other side of the table were looking at me like, talk to it if you like. Go say something. Nobody said anything. So we started doing it on purpose to see if anyone knew anything. And we ran able for like 8 games, and then we ended up getting knocked out. We're friends to this day. He's always like, yeah. My claim to fame is that I beat Demarius Thomas in beer pong, and I was like good for you, buddy.
Good for you.
One of the funniest things, like he was on his phone most honestly, like texting his agent. He would show me, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm not an agent. I'm not a lawyer. I have no idea what that means. It's complicated. We go around, like when people would take shots, they would shoot something and then chase it, right? And so people would get shot, and then when they would go to chase their shot, he would grab their arm. So they could not chase that. And so it's like, big as my biceps are, his forearms were the size of my biceps, okay? He was actually bigger as a rookie than he was, like, kind of towards his career.
Right.
And so this big force just coming and just holding, like, sir, please, sir, please stop. He did it all night. He was going up to the people. It was just like, So that's the best part. And then we had a good time. We're driving back. I was like, what'd you think? Like, did you enjoy yourself? You mind if he's like, yeah, it was cool. It was kind of boring. I was like, good. You don't need to be having too much fun yet, buddy. Okay, you're not a pro athlete yet. Okay, as it stands now, you're broke. So no, not that fun for you. So yeah, that was the story of me and Demaryius Thomas playing pong in Boulder.
Yeah, it's such an awesome story.
It's fantastic, man.
Yeah.
And he went around, he talked to everybody, took pictures with people. That was the craziest thing. Like when he ended up being arguably the best receiver in Broncos history, it's just like it was weird to have that dynamic. Like we knew as Demaryius, like he's our friend, like he was a part of our family. And it was so overwhelming, the amount of success that he had. Because, like, obviously, that is guaranteed. And he was a rare special talent. Like, you almost never see someone of his size and stature as dynamic as he is. And it was so cool we got to experience that in general as Bronco fans. But know him intimately that our family did. There's just nothing that beat that. It was the coolest experience because, like, you want him to do well because he's a Bronco, but more so you want to do well because he's just a great person. It was a part of our family.
Oh yeah, for sure. And just to close it, one thing I talked about on the last show with DT Mario was I said, probably one of the biggest things I loved about all of that, just with because there's so many different takeaways, like, with that game in general to, just the outpouring support. I know I mentioned it to you before, but it's just like with him being like the underappreciated wide receiver or the underappreciated player of Broncos history, to see the outpouring support that everyone gave for him and even having it be extended to the NFL was just really incredible to see a player who in team history was arguably the most underappreciated player of Broncos history, in my opinion, be that well received by Broncos country. It was that part was what really that part really got me.
Yeah. So let's dig into our score predictions for the Bengals Broncos game. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Cam.
I don't know. I'll keep it consistent. And I believe actually I have no idea. Now that I think about it, I have no idea what I predicted on the podcast. But I will say that the Broncos win, and I think that it'll be a really close game, but it'll be one that I think I said before is that if it's a defensive battle, and you say it so often, I guess, with this Denver Broncos team is like if you have a defensive battle, the Broncos are going to be in it. More often than not. The question is just, do they have enough offensive firepower to get them over the top?
Well, and the question, Cam, that's the question to answer.
I know. So, with that said, it'll be I get it from my dad, Mario. I build a house.
You're mocking. Give us a score prediction.
So, I say 24-20 Broncos.
Preview,
you want me to go? You want to go?
Well, I already said it. I already said it on scared the crap out of her. I said it on on Thursday. I predicted Broncos win 31-21.
I love it. Yeah, I'm not gonna be a monologue like Cam. I'm gonna say 27. I'm gonna say 27 for Broncos. I think it's gonna come to like a last-second field goal or a last-second defensive stop. Broncos on top. I'm never going to pick against them. Like, I don't care what the situation is. Like, I would have picked them the Saints last year when they had receiver playing quarterback. Like, I'm going to predict the Broncos loss. You predict they lose and they win. You look stupid.
Yeah, well, that's about going to do it for us. I mean, this has been a very technically challenged podcast, but
we got through it though, and it was good.
I mean, baby, Mario, and Cam. So I mean,
I thought you were calling it baby.
No, baby, right here. This one right here. Baby, Mario, and Cam. I mean, you can't really argue with that. So make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on notifications so that you can catch all of our content when it's posted, as well as following Cam. He's on the Mainly Broncos podcast. And make sure you're following Mario. He is, hold on, it's Jedi Master Mario. It's at Mile High Mario. Got it.
Don't follow me though. I'm 05K. I'm good. no more.
But make sure you are checking him out on. Make sure you are checking him out on Twitter for his for his DT hoodies. Make sure you're looking into those. Purchase those if you can. All those proceeds go to the Boys and Girls Club. Correct?
Yes, sir. Oh, and one more thing. I almost forgot. This jersey. Where am I going? This jersey behind me. This blue one. I'm pick one person who purchased a hoodie, and I'm gonna give this stitched DTZ to them.
Nice.
And by one person, he means me.
Maybe
that's what that means.
You could the one person.
Could be the one person.
I win. I bought these. I might win it myself. I'm entered to winning it.
There you go. But make sure you're also tuning into all of our other podcasts on the network. Broncos Talk every Tuesday at 7654. The MHRT podcast, our flagship show, every Thursday at 7654. And the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast on Fridays at 7654. And then you can catch the audio versions of all the podcasts on all the major streaming services. Descriptions down or links down below in the descriptions. We love you all. We love Broncos country. We love Demaryius Thomas. We love Cameron Parker. We love Mario Vitanzi. I love her, but she needs to get out of my arm because my arm's asleep. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take off. Thanks everybody for joining us. We will see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.